Hello and welcome back guys. Today we are going to start new story, The Dark Wolf Apex, written by Freddy Doom 5. So let's begin. Bio Izuku Apex. The user can also transfer any stored quirk to another person by making physical contact with their palm, which contains a biological transfer point that opens to emit red energy streams, similar to All for One's visual effect. This allows for giving or stripping quirks as desired. This will be explained in the story. Quirks from being turned into a Nomu, lycanthrope physiology, gives the user the appearance and instincts of a powerful wolf-furred limbs, enhanced jaws, fangs, claws, and animalistic senses. Beast claws. His claws are nearly indestructible and can slice through steel. Regenerate if broken. Muscle augmentation. X3 stacks of this quirk greatly enhance muscle density and regeneration. Allows for explosive strength and muscle overgrowth like musculars. Super regeneration. X2 has the ability to regenerate any sort of injuries on the user's body, such as missing limbs, at incredible speeds. Enhanced durability. Makes his body resistant to blunt force, slicing, and elemental damage. Adrenaline surge. Temporarily boosts power and reflexes when under stress or taking damage. Bone blade. Can form sharp blades or spikes from bones, typically from arms or knuckles, for slashing attacks. This is what they look like. Steel bone framework. Skeleton is reinforced with a metal alloy, granting durability and added weight for strikes. Beast sense. Enhances smell, hearing, and night vision to animalistic levels. Howl shock. A sonic roar-like ability that disorients enemies with a directed sound blast. Predator's instinct. Gives enhanced reaction time and danger sense similar to a weaker version of spider sense. Quadruped speed. Allows switching between bipedal and quadrupedal movement for better agility and sprinting speed. Wall crawler. Grants the ability to cling to walls and ceilings like a gecko or spider. Impact absorption. X2 can absorb the force of incoming blows and redirect them or use the energy to strengthen attacks. Hyper reflexes. Drastically improves reaction time and reflexes, allowing movement reading and evasion. Razor claws. Fingernails or fingers form retractable claws that can slice through metal and armor. Pain suppression. Dampens the pain response, allowing him to fight through grievous injuries without flinching. Quirks obtained from consumption. Adaptive resilience. Allows the user to adapt to any repeated or ongoing physical or mental stress. The more often a specific type of damage or trauma occurs, the more resistant the user becomes to it. Pulse chain. Can emit electrical pulses that chain from one target to another like lightning. Each jump weakens it slightly, but it's excellent for crowd control and stunning multiple enemies. Stone shift. Can convert parts of their body into stone for defense or melee combat, e.g., stone fists, legs, torso armor. Slipstream. Can create miniature wind tunnels behind their movements, increasing their speed and allowing allies to ride the wind trails. Memory echo. Can replay short memories from people or surfaces recently exposed to them, useful for recon or interrogation. Molten grip. Hands can heat up to lava-like temperatures, melting metal and creating molten gauntlets that reshape based on what they grip. Iron bloom. Can grow razor-sharp vines made of iron from their skin. They act as both offense, whips, thorns, and defense, barriers, armor. Likes, U.A., All Might, Itsuka Kendo, his old mother, Class 1A and 1B, minus Izumi and Bakugo, the U, Staff, Kurojiri Oboro Shirakumo, Namuri Shirakumo Midnight. Dislikes, Izumi Midoriya, Katsuki Bakugo, Hisashi Midoriya, Aldera, Quirk discrimination, All for One, Kyudai Garaki, Fake heroes. Story. Izuku was born into the Midoriya family, and for a while, everything was fine. But that peace shattered on the day of the quirk test. After that, he knew only pain. He was beaten, bullied, and hated. His teachers lowered his grades. The students and staff tormented him daily. The heroes and police turned a blind eye. His only friend, Itsuka Kendo, stood by him, and his mother remained his only source of love and support. Eventually, he and his mother moved into a small apartment, hoping for a better life. But at age 12, things got even worse. His mother was killed by a villain, and Itsuka moved away. With no one left, no hope, and no future, Izuku decided to end his life. His body was found by a man who reported him dead, and he was quietly buried, or so the public believed. In truth, his body was taken and transformed into a high-end Nomu Omega. Powerful and dangerous, he was placed under the control of All for One and Dr. Kyudai Garaki. Forced to fight pro-heroes, he obeyed their commands, but unknown to them, Izuku was born with a dormant quirk called consumption. And then, at the USJ attack, it all came rushing back. When he saw Itsuka again and the faces of those who once tormented him, everything changed. Family, biological father, Hisashi Midoriya appearance, quirk, fire breath, lets the user breath fire. Status, alive biological mother, Inko Midoriya appearance, quirk, attraction of small objects, grants the user the ability to use a telekinesis-like power that attracts small objects to them. Status, deceased biological sister, Izumi Midoriya appearance, age, 15 quirk, pyrocore, the user generates intense internal heat, which gives them control over fire and the ability to magnetize and manipulate small objects by superheating the air around them. Objects drawn in by the magnetic force become superheated or ignite mid-flight, creating a deadly and elegant fire-based manipulation quirk. Status, alive adopted father, Kurojiri Oboro Shirakumo hero appearance, image his mist is light blue. Civilian, quirk, warp gate, user can create and manipulate a dark fog that acts as a portal. It will be shown how he was freed in the story. Adopted mother, Namuri Shirakumo midnight hero appearance, quirk, somnambulist, allows the user to put targets to sleep by exuding a sleep-inducing aroma from their skin. Status, alive the dark wolf apex, the attack is the same as in canon, just put Izumi in Izuku's place during the attack, remove 1 for all attacks with fire attacks, and add 1B into the mix. All Might stood tall, steam rising from his body, but he didn't care, his students were safe, and the threat of that monstrous Nomu had been dealt with. He turned to face the remaining villains, the ones who dared endanger his students. All Might, in a booming voice, what now, villains? You failed to kill me and I still stand. So, what now? Tamura scratched at his neck, visibly irritated. Tamura's thoughts, what the hell? How is he still this strong? Sensei said he was weaker, but wait, he's steaming and he didn't spawn here. That means, Tamura whispered to himself, his time limit is up. If we push now, we might actually kill the final boss. Smirking, Tamura barked, Kurojiri bring in Omega. Kurojiri's eyes widened within the mist, young MSTR, we can't. He's not meant to be used yet, still in testing. He's only fought pros one-on-one, never many at once. And the U staff won't be far. He can't take on all of them. Kurojiri hesitated. He didn't know why he cared so much, but Omega was different. Like a child at times. And Kurojiri, created to be a caretaker, had found solace in the young Nomu. Omega listened when he needed to talk. There was something pure about him, innocent, even. And Kurojiri didn't want him hurt. Tamura cut him off. Sensei said use what we have. He never said I couldn't use Omega. Kurojiri wanted to protest but sighed in defeat and opened a warp gate. Kurojiri, yes MSTR Tamura. From the swirling mist stepped a hulking, wolf-like beast taller than All Might himself. His body was massive and muscular, covered in dark green fur. Chains dangled from cuffs on his arms and legs. His hands and feet ended in claws. Golden yellow eyes scanned the battlefield, then froze on All Might. There was something familiar. Omega turned to Tamura, awaiting orders. Tamura smirked, Omega kill All Might. Omega's ears twitched. His fingers curled. His tail snapped once. And then he charged. All Might didn't move. He'd hit his limit. Then boom. An explosion slammed into Omega. Get the hell away from All Might, UFER. Katsuki Bakugo and Izumi Midoriya stood there in their hero costumes. And then pain. Memories. Worthless. Useless. Deku. He remembered being beaten. Burned. Scarred. Hated. Why were you born? Voices screamed in his head. Pain echoed. He broke from command. Omega charged the two. A bone blade burst from his arm, just missing Izumi. Omega didn't stop. He slashed again. And again. And again. Katsuki bled from arms and chest. Omega grabbed his head and slammed it into the ground. Once. Twice. 15 times. Bakugo lay still unconscious. Then Omega turned to Izumi. Snarling. Then charged. Izumi fired 2 molten metal balls straight through Omega's chest. The wounds healed instantly. A blade of bone cut clean through Izumi's right hand. She screamed. And then he spoke. Omega, Izumi. Izumi, gasping, how do you can know my name? Omega, voice full of venom, Deku. Izumi's eyes widened, what? Omega, who's weak now, little Deku? Who's the freak? His words became less beastly, more human. Omega roared, Izumi. You did this to me. You made my life hell for being quirkless. Now I'll kill you. You'll die a worthless DKU. He activated his muscle augmentation, X3, adrenaline surge, quadruped speed, stone shift, and iron bloom quirks, charging Izumi with pure rage. He struck her as she once struck him. All he saw was red. Everyone else was frozen. You, students. Staff. Even the villains. But one person broke through it. Random voice, Kendo, don't. But Itsuka Kendo didn't listen. She heard what the Nomu had said, and if it was true, Itsuka ran forward. Izuku, stop. Omega froze. His voice was soft, WHAT, Kendo moved closer, eyes filled with tears. Itsuka, please Izuku, stop this. He stared at her. Then gripped his head. More memories returned. Omega's voice cracked, Kendo, he howled in agony. His name. His life. His truth unlocked. Tears poured from his eyes, now emerald green once more. Itsuka smiled through tears, Izuku. She ran forward, but then gray goo poured from his mouth, covering his whole body. Tamura and Kurogiri were too stunned to act as the same happened to them. Itsuka, no. Not again. Omega looked at her, crying. Omega, I'm sorry, those were the last words he spoke before the goo consumed him. And Izuku Midoriya vanished. End chapter. Escape and reunion all for one, enraged, how? How did he escape my control? Kurogiri, who was rarely shaken, now stood rigid with unease. He had seen his MSTR angry before, but this was something else. Rage fueled by fear. Kurogiri, voice cautious, MSTR, please calm yourself. Rage will cloud your actions. All for one slowly turned his head toward him. Though his face was featureless beneath the dark mask, his sheer presence screamed fury. The doctor's voice crackled through a speaker, MSTR, we don't have time to lose composure. We must reapply the mind control quirk immediately, before Omega destroys the facility or the other Nomu. All for one exhaled, slowly regaining composure. All for one, you're right, Doctor. If he's truly broken free, we can't risk him remembering everything. He turned to Kurogiri. All for one, warp us to the containment chamber. I overexerted myself earlier, this vessel won't survive another long-range warp. Kurogiri, hesitating briefly, then bowed, as you command. A purple portal opened, and the three stepped through into a shattered underground room, filled with rubble and glowing chains. There, bound to the center of the room, was Omega. The massive, wolf-like Nomu knelt in silence, his breathing low but heavy. Quirk-canceling chains radiated a dull blue glow, binding his limbs and anchoring him to the cracked floor. The room itself seemed to vibrate from his mere presence. All for One approached slowly, footsteps echoing in the silence. All for One, you fought hard, didn't you, Izuku? Omega stirred slightly. Omega, Alpharone All for One chuckled darkly. All for One, still clinging to that name. You're not Izuku Midoriya. You're my creation now, Omega. He reached forward, not with his hand open but with both hands reaching toward Omega's head. All for One, now sleep, and forget. Again. But before he could grasp Omega's skull, Omega moved. Faster than anyone had expected. All for One howled in pain, but it was already too late. Power surged through his body, hundreds of quirks, all absorbed, and claimed as his own. His original quirk, consumption, began to evolve into something far more terrifying. Omega's body expanded, his already massive frame becoming even more monstrous. His muscle mass swelled. Jagged bone spikes erupted from his arms, back, and legs. His claws gleamed with unnatural sharpness. He stood. Taller. Deadlier. Unstoppable. Omega, voice guttural and wrathful, all. 4. 1 die. He roared and activated his strength and speed-enhancing quirks. Before All for One could react, a colossal punch sent him flying through several walls in a blur of crushed steel and shattering concrete. Omega turned, eyes blazing with fury, and faced Kurogiri. Stepping toward him, he gently placed a clawed hand on the Kurogiri chest. The glow of Quirk's mind control, memory suppression flared for a second, then snuffed out like candles in the wind. Kurogiri, voice shaking, what did you just do? Omega, voice weakening, freed you then, his monstrous frame trembled. Bones cracked. Fur receded. The spikes withdrew. Omega collapsed, his body shrinking down until he was no longer a beast, but a battered, half-conscious 15-year-old boy with wolf-like traits. Kurogiri caught him as he fell. Kurogiri, Omega Izuku. Izuku, barely able to speak, Kurogiri without another word, Kurogiri's mist whirled and expanded around them, and with a final pulse of energy, they vanished into the darkness. 1 week later, it had been a week since Izuku and Kurogiri, now fully aware of his past as Oboro Shirakumo, escaped from All for One. Inside an old, long-abandoned cabin once used by him and his father, Oboro paced, wrestling with uncertainty. Currently in his mist form, the signature purple haze had faded to a soft, light blue. Oboro, voice a bit panked, what am I supposed to do? I can't go back as Oboro Shirakumo, but I can't stay Kurogiri either. One is supposed to be dead, and the other's a villain. Ugh, what now? The cabin creaked quietly, untouched by time and memory. Dust covered every surface, but it was shelter. A place to think. Oboro, and Izuku, he's still out cold. I hoped he'd wake up by now. But I can't just sit here, I need to get him help. He turned toward the bed where Izuku lay, breathing steadily in deep sleep. Oboro watched him with concern etched in the shifting mist of his form. Oboro, come on, Shirakumo, pull yourself together. Think. Who would help us now? Who knows the truth about All for One? A sudden realization struck him. Oboro, wait, All for One mentioned Nizu. And Nizu, he's the smartest person I know. That's it. Oboro straightened, a plan forming in the haze. Oboro, I'll go to UA. Warp Gate works as long as I know the exact location. I'll appear as Kurogiri. Wait, no. This is Nizu we're talking about, he thrives on chaos. He might actually hear me out. He walked over to Izuku's bedside, resting a gentle hand on his shoulder. Oboro, I'll be back, people like us, we need each other. With that, his mist deepened into its familiar purple hue, and he vanished through a swirling warp gate destination, UA. I'm just going to type UA from now on. Inside UA, Nizu sat with the other UA staff, going over the aftermath of the USJ incident. Nizu, alright, we've covered most of the key points from the USJ. Now, let's move on to the main topic, specifically, the Nomus. More precisely, Omega. A photo of Omega appeared on the screen. The staff collectively shuddered at the sight of the monstrous figure. Nizu, Omega arrived after the main Nomu was defeated by All Might. Curiously, it appeared as though the warper, Kurogyri, was reluctant to bring him. A brief audio recording played, capturing Kurogyri and Tomura's exchange before it was paused. Nizu, Kurogyri stated that Omega was still in testing. And yet, he was deployed specifically against two students, Izumi Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. Both sustained serious injuries. Based on Omega's words and what young Kendo recounted, there's a connection, and I found it. Though it was difficult to read Nizu's emotions due to his animalistic features, the heaviness in the room told everyone he was both angry and heartbroken. He pressed a button, and a photo appeared alongside a name, Izuku Midoriya. Vlad King, wait, Midoriya. As in Izumi Midoriya. Are they related? He had been present at the USJ, injured but not as severely as Aizawa. Nizu, yes. They're twins. Izuku Midoriya was quirkless. According to Detective Tsukachi's report from his interrogation with young Kendo, she and Izuku were close friends before her family moved away. Shortly after she left, his mother, Inko Midoriya, passed away. That loss devastated him. Nizu's voice grew quieter, more solemn. Nizu, her death was the breaking point. But it wasn't the only weight he carried. For years, Izuku had been relentlessly bullied by his own sister, Izumi Midoriya, and his former best friend, Katsuki Bakugo. The constant emotional abuse, isolation, and grief combined, and it became too much. At only 12 years old, Izuku ended his life. The room fell into stunned silence. The idea that a student had been crushed under so much pain that he took his own life was almost too much to process. Nizu, but I believe there's still a chance to save him. At the USJ, Kendo's presence stirred something in him. He showed recognition. He fought back against the control. For a moment, he was himself. Then he was warped away. Nizu's tone turned firm. Nizu, our priority now is identifying his location. If we can do that, we may have a shot at finding and saving the boy. We know Nomus based on the first are typically mindless husks, but Omega showed clear thought. I believe young Kendo may be our best option to reach him. That won't be necessary. All heads turned toward the voice. Emerging from the shadows was none other than Kurogyri of the League of Villains. Instantly, the staff readied for battle. All Might powered up without hesitation. But then Kurogyri raised both hands. Kurogyri, I surrender. I came here to turn myself in. Everything I know I'll share freely. All I ask is that you hear me out. I didn't choose this life. It was forced on me. Nizu glanced toward Naomasa. Naomasa, he's telling the truth. He's really here to surrender. Midnight, cautiously, what do you mean, forced on you? Kurogyri, because I wasn't born as Kurogyri. That name was given to me by All for One when he made me like this. You see, I am a Nomu created from a dead body, reanimated, and stuffed with quirks. All Might, All for One, he's still alive. Kurogyri, sighing yes. He survived your battle. I know your quirk, All Might. I overheard All for One ranting about it to the doctor. As for me, I'm what's known as a high-end Nomu. We retain thought, strategy, fragments of who we once were. But Omega and I were different. We're fully sentient. Yet we were shackled by memory suppression and mind control quirks. The staff was stunned into silence. Midnight, then who were you? Instead of answering, the mist around Kurogyri's face began to disperse, revealing a face so familiar it sent shockwaves through the room. Midnight, tearfully, no it can't be present. Mike shocked, no way. You're dead. We saw your body. With a trembling smile, Oboro the man they thought long gone nodded, eyes welling up. Oboro, it's really me. Midnight ran to him, embracing him tightly, sobbing. Present Mike soon followed, choking back tears. One by one, the staff moved to welcome their lost friend back with hugs and quiet words. Nizu, wiping a tear from his eye, Shirakumo, it's so good to see you again. Oboro, now with soft, light blue mist swirling gently around him, did his best to smile. Oboro, thank you, Principal Nizu, sir. But I had to come. I need to bring Izuku here before All for One finds him. Nizu, then let's not waste any time. With that, Oboro opened a portal and brought Izuku into the room. He was still unconscious. Oboro's concern deepened. Oboro, still. He's been out for a whole week. Recovery girl, let me examine him. Can you warp me to my office? Oboro, sure. If it's still where I remember, then yeah. Recovery girl, of course it is. Why does that matter? Oboro, because warp gate works through coordinate-based warping. If I know the exact location, I can get us anywhere. As they talked about the League and All for One, a new ray of light began to shine, a new day was here, a new life was waiting. A lost friend Itsuka Kendo hadn't slept. Not a wink. Not since the USJ. Izuku. That name echoed in her mind, a constant, aching presence. All she could think about was him. Her Izuku. Sakura, Itsuka's mother. Itsuka, honey. Can you come downstairs, please? Her voice was gentle, but carried a weight behind it. Itsuka groggily sat up. Dark bags rested under her eyes, and her normally neat orange hair hung wild and untamed around her face. She hadn't even bothered tying it back. She moved like a ghost, barely aware of her surroundings, her body running on nothing but numb determination. When she reached the bottom of the stairs, she stopped cold. There, in her living room, stood Vlad King, his arm in a cast. Beside him was Principal Nizu, and with them a tall man with mist-like light blue hair and glowing golden eyes. There was something oddly familiar about him, something she couldn't place. Itsuka blinked. Itsuka startled, Vlad-sensei. Principal Nizu. And are you a new staff member? The mist-haired man gave a sheepish smile. Oboro, kind of. I'm your new teacher and transport specialist. Name's Oboro Shirakumo. Nice to meet you. He gave a respectful bow before sitting back down on the couch. Itsuka blinking in confusion, wait, like Midnight Sensei. Oboro softly, she's my wife. Itsuka's eyes widened in disbelief. Itsuka, but she said you died. In a villain attack. Oboro looked down, his expression dimming. Oboro, I did. But my body was taken by the League. They turned me into something else. A high-end Nomu. The room fell into stunned silence. Itsuka shocked, a Nomu. The words hit like thunder, but then, something clicked. Something ignited in her chest. Hope. Itsuka whispering, growing louder, if you were with the League, then do you know where Izuku is? Her eyes were wide and brimming with desperation. Every fiber of her being trembled with the need for an answer. Nizu gently cleared his throat. Nizu, that's exactly why we're here. Please, take a seat, young Kendo. Still stunned, she sat beside her parents. Nizu, as you know, the USJ incident was not something we ever wanted our students to experience. But from that chaos something extraordinary happened. Something saved 2 lives. Itsuka confused, what do you mean, sir? Nizu looked directly into her eyes. Nizu, you, young Kendo. You brought back Izuku Midoriya and Oboro Shirakumo. Because of you, they are alive and free. The words barely left his lips before they hit her like a wave. Itsuka, voice breaking, he's back. Nizu nodding, yes. He's back. Though still unconscious. He's been asleep for over a week, but he's safe now. Recovering. And he'll need help when he wakes. Her parents went still with shock. Haruki, Itsuka's father. Wait, what happened to him? Itsuka didn't say much, and we didn't want to push her. Itsuka blushed, realizing how wrecked she looked, especially in front of her teachers. Vlad King, I can't say much, but Oboro knows more than I do. Oboro nodding, as I said, I'm technically a Nomu. But unlike most, I kept my mind. So did Izuku. We're what the League calls high-end, smarter, stronger, able to retain our thoughts. Most hold 4 to 6 quirks. But Izuku, he had over 15 quirks before we escaped. The Kendo family stared at him, stunned. Itsuka, 15. How? Oboro, more than 15. Plus his BRTH quirk. Time seemed to freeze. Itsuka quietly, his BRTH quirk. But Izuku was quirkless. Oboro gently, that's what everyone thought. But no, he had a quirk all along. Oboro explained everything. Izuku's hidden quirk. How All for One took him. The experiments. The mind control. And how they escaped. How Kurogiri finally remembered who he was. Oboro, that's all of it. Tears flowed freely down Itsuka's face. Itsuka crying, trembling, he's back, he's really back. Sakura through sobs, we thought we lost him forever. Haruki voice thick with emotion, thank you for telling us. Ever since the reports of his death nothing's been the same. I saw that boy as one of my own. When Inko died we were going to take him in. But some things stopped us. And then he couldn't finish. But he didn't have to. They all understood. After a long, quiet moment, Nizu wiped his eyes and smiled. Nizu, would you like to see him? The answer was immediate. All 3 kendos, yes. After a bit they are ready to go. Itsuka took some time to clean herself up, though the bags under eyes were still there, but no one really cared. Oboro opened a warp gate and they walked through and entered UA medical wing. A few hours prior, Izuku lay fast asleep in the medical bed, his body surrounded by a quiet symphony of soft beeps and rhythmic mechanical whirs. IVs ran into his arms, sensors gently stuck to his chest and temples. Advanced medical monitors traced every breath, every heartbeat. Recovery girl sat nearby like a hawk, her eyes flickering constantly between the boy and the vitals monitor. She checked his stats every few minutes, never once letting her guard down. She muttered softly under her breath as she adjusted a few readings. Recovery girl, murmuring, he seems stable physically. But his body's still adjusting to all those quirks, must be part of his BRTH quirk, whatever it truly is. Her eyes drifted to the dormant wolf trait still visible on him, the elongated canines, the faint fur pattern along his forearms, the feral slits in his eyelids that twitched occasionally in his sleep. Recovery girl frowning, odd, the active quirks are dormant, yet these traits remain. Only the passive ones like his reinforced bones are still functioning. But she turned toward a nearby device projecting quirk patterns like overlapping constellations. One glowed brighter, darker, twisted and tangled. Her expression tightened. Recovery girl grim, he has All for One, but it's not the same. It's been melded with his BRTH quirk. Like it was tailored to him. He's powerful, no doubt about that. But if what Nizu discovered is true, she placed a hand gently on the edge of the bed, eyes filled with worry. Recovery girl softly, then this boy will need more than healing. He'll need therapy. A lot of it. Hound Dog will have his work cut out for him. The door opened with a quiet click. All Might stepped into the room, his tall form slightly hunched, a familiar weight pressing down on his shoulders. His eyes scanned the room, landing on Izuku, and for a moment, they softened. All Might quietly, Chio, how is he? Recovery girl gently, physically. Remarkably stable. His body's adapting, syncing with the quirks inside him. He should wake within a few hours hopefully. All Might took a few slow steps forward, his gaze never leaving Izuku's sleeping form. All Might voice heavy, I knew All for One was a monster, but to do this to a child. To that boy he clenched his fists, jaw tight. All Might, it just reminds me how badly I failed him. Chio looked up at him with a steady gaze, firm but kind. Recovery girl, Toshinori, what happened to this young man is not your fault. I know you carry that guilt, but we all misjudged All for One. We should have known he wouldn't go quietly. We all should have been more prepared. She looked back at Izuku, voice softer now. Recovery girl, but in a strange, twisted way, if All for One had truly died, this young man wouldn't be here. He'd be gone. Silence settled between them like a shared burden. All Might quietly, you're right, he's alive. He's here. And now he needs help, the kind I can give. He paused, glancing at her as if weighing something in his heart. All Might murmuring, maybe no. I'll think about that later. Chio raised an eyebrow, catching the hesitation. Recovery girl, Toshi, were you thinking about? All Might nodding, yes. I won't deny it. That boy, his heart is pure. It always was. Once he's healed, truly healed, I'll ask him. If he refuses, so be it, but if not, he looked down, the shadow of a smile tugging at the edge of his lips. All Might, then I'll pass it to him. And if not, I'll ask Melissa. Or young Togata. He turned to Izuku again, eyes glassy but warm. All Might softly, but something tells me he won't refuse. A few hours later, the sound of quiet footsteps echoed in the sterile halls of the medical wing as the Kendo family arrived, led gently by Itsuka, her hand tight around her mother's. They stopped at the doorway, eyes falling on the figure in the hospital bed. Izuku lay still, his body now fully healed, but altered. The overwhelming beast-like appearance he once bore had faded. In his place was a boy, No, a young man lean and scarred, his wild green hair splayed around lupin ears and subtle patches of fur. His hands bore faint claws, his features sharp and animalistic, but he looked peaceful. Itsuka quietly, Izuku. Recovery girl turned with a soft smile, hands tucked behind her back like a grandmother standing guard. Recovery girl, oh, good. You're all here. He'll be waking up soon, but before our young wolf stirs, there are some things we need to discuss. They all slowly took seats. Nizu, ever calm with a cup of tea seemingly conjured from the void, Oboro sitting close with arms folded, and the Kendos sharing glances of both worry and hope. Recovery girl's gaze landed on Oboro first. Recovery girl, Shirakumo. I have to ask again, are you and Namiri sure about this? Looking after him isn't going to be easy. Oboro leaned back, a crooked, heartfelt smile on his face. Oboro, kid saved my life. I owe him. Namiri and I talked about it, we're not just fine with it. We want to be there for him. Sakura confused, wait, what do you mean? Take care of him. Oboro, for Izuku's safety, he needs guardianship, someone close. His father is off the table. And he can't leave UA. Nem and I already live on campus. It just made sense. Sakura softly, I can't say I'm surprised. Oboro grinning, you can visit anytime. Dorms are getting added soon anyway. He'll be surrounded by friends. Haruki exhaled, resting a hand on his knee. Haruki, as long as we're allowed to see him, that's all I ask. Itsuka said nothing, her eyes locked on Izuku's sleeping face. She quietly took his hand into hers, gently squeezing. Recovery girl cleared her throat, tone shifting. Recovery girl, now to the important matters. First, his physical health. He's fine. More than fine. In fact, his regeneration is remarkable. But mentally he's scarred. Everyone looked up, some with a frown, others with a breath held. Recovery girl continuing, PTSD is likely. His time as Omega, the things he endured and did, they left wounds we can't see. He'll start therapy with Hound Dog immediately. But it won't be enough. He'll need his friends. His family. Mizu nodded, sipping his tea silently, his eyes never leaving Izuku. The Kendos all shared solemn glances. Recovery girl, now, about his quirk. She walked over to the console, pulling up a diagram that pulsed with glowing quirk signatures, complex, woven, unlike anything natural. Recovery girl, as some of you may know, his BRTH quirk allows him to permanently copy quirks. But something's changed. It fused with a quirk called All for One, a terrifying ability that lets its user steal and give quirks by touch. But in Izuku's case the fusion evolved. She looked up, tone serious. Recovery girl, he can now give quirks without losing them. They become part of his DNA. His body is adapting them. Merging them. Sometimes combining them into new abilities just to save space. That's why he's been asleep so long. His body needed to survive the transformation. A heavy silence followed. Itsuka in awe, he can take quirks. And give them away. Recovery girl nodding, yes. And with no limit we can yet detect. It's beyond powerful. But dangerous, too. We'll need to monitor him closely. Oboro chuckling, trying to lighten the mood, whelp. Kid's officially broken the power scale. Haruki sighing, wide-eyed, agreed. Our little pup turned out to be a DMN apex predator. Sakura quietly reached for her daughter's free hand. Itsuka said nothing still, but her grip on Izuku's hand tightened, protective, steady, and full of silent promise. And in the soft hum of the machines, the boy in the bed stirred just a twitch of his fingers, but enough to make everyone freeze. Recovery girl softly, he's waking up. Izuku's eyes slowly open. Izuku groggily, wah. The room was blurry at first, but his nose worked before his eyes did. The scents hit him like waves. One carried the soft coolness of clouds and morning mist. Another was wild and layered like countless animals woven into one. A third scent was sterile and warm, an older woman, full of healing herbs, bandages, and something floral under antiseptic. Then came the ones that pulled at his soul, familiar. One was a grounding smell of black coffee and aged wood, steady and strong. Another was light flowers and candy, warm and safe. And finally a perfect blend of the two, coffee and blossoms, tangled together. His eyes fluttered open. Izuku blinking slowly, Itsuka. A sharp intake of breath, then Itsuka choking back tears, Izuku. She lunged forward, arms wrapping tightly around him. Her embrace was desperate, like if she let go, he'd vanish again. Izuku didn't hesitate. He pulled her close, his fur-covered arms enfolding her gently but firmly. Tears traced down both their cheeks, mixing into her hair and his fur. Izuku shaking, crying, I am sorry, I'm so sorry. Itsuka holding him tighter. You're back, that's all that matters. Neither of them noticed Izuku was now taller than her, broader, a soft growl in his breath replaced with sobs. But to her, he was still Izuku. Across the room, Haruki and Sakura watched, tears rolling down their own cheeks, soft smiles blooming through the emotion. Then, together, they moved forward and embraced their daughter and the wolf boy they already considered family. Later, once the tears had ebbed, Izuku looked around, eyes scanning the white room, now full of warmth and love. Izuku, where am I? Oboro with a small grin, UA medical wing, little wolf. Izuku narrowing his eyes, only one person ever called me that. Oboro just smiled wider. A soft mist enveloped his form, his hair and face fading into a familiar blue haze until a ghostly echo of Kurogiri stood in his place. Izuku quietly, Kurogiri. Now I know why your scent felt familiar. The mist receded, revealing Oboro once more. Oboro chuckling, you can tell. Izuku deadpan, tail flicking once, I've got a wolf's nose and about 100 other quirks I didn't ask for. I can smell people's history now. Haruki frowning, wait, what do you mean? 100 other quirks. Recovery girl stepping forward, gently, remember how I said his quirk merged with all for one? Well, the man himself is still alive. But parts of his quirk, his collection of powers, stayed with Izuku. She turned to Izuku with a calm smile. Recovery girl, sweetie, do you know how many you have? Izuku sat in thought, brows furrowed. Izuku, I think over 1,000. But most of them have fused together. I can't even tell what's what anymore. Some feel like hybrids of quirks. I don't know what's normal anymore. Itsuka leaned in, still holding his hand, smile unwavering. Itsuka softly, we'll figure it out. Together, Wolfie. Izuku blushing, ears twitching, thanks, Itsuka. Izuku's thoughts, I need to tell her. I like her. And I think she likes me too. I was so DMN blind before I died. Just then, Recovery girl turned towards Sakura and Haruki, her expression shifting. Recovery girl, may I speak with you both outside? Nizu and Oboro will stay with Izuku. Young Kendo, stay with him too. They nodded and followed her out into the hallway. Once the door shut behind them, her demeanor became more serious, no longer the doting nurse, but a veteran hero with heavy truths to share. Recovery girl firmly, I wanted to speak with you about Izumi Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. The atmosphere chilled instantly. Recovery girl, Nizu's been digging. What we found isn't pretty. Those two have a long history of bullying, beating, and frankly nearly killing other students. Izuku was their main target. Sakura's breath caught. Haruki's fists clenched. Recovery girl sadly, you're probably wondering why they were ever allowed into the hero course. Their school records were spotless. We had no reason to suspect anything until the training grounds, and then the USJ. When Omega spoke about them, it wasn't random. There was history. She took a deep breath, letting the next word settle heavily. Recovery girl, we found that Izuku's entire academic record had been wiped. Erased like he never existed. And then a suicide note. One that was never released because it exposed everything those two did to him. The people who buried this did it to protect Bakugo and Izumi. Sakura trembled, her hand over her mouth. Haruki looked like he might explode. Recovery girl, there's even more. So much more. But until their true records arrive, the best we can do is suspend them. But if the Hero Commission or worse, the villains get their hands on them, we could be looking at another Lady Nagant. Or something worse. We have no choice but to keep them in UA. She placed a gentle hand on Sakura's arm. Recovery girl, I wanted you to know before the world finds out. We're going to protect Izuku. But the storm's coming and we have to be ready. In the room, Nizu, Izuku, I wanted to let you know for your safety you'll be staying here at UA. You'll be under the care of Oboro Shirakumo and Namuri Shirakumo. To make it official, they've both agreed to adopt you. Is that alright with you? Izuku gave a soft smile, his ears twitching slightly as he looked at Oboro, then at Nizu. Izuku, yeah, that's fine by me. As long as I can still see Itsuka and auntie and uncle, then I'm okay with it. Nizu, of course, my boy. You'll always have time with them. And by the time internships begin, the dorm system will be up and running. You'll all be staying together in one place. Izuku and Itsuka exchanged a glance, still holding hands tightly. They both nodded, silently grateful for even a sliver of peace. Oboro, starting soon, there will be a joint meeting between classes 1A and 1B. From now on, you'll all be part of one unit, Class 1 Alpha. 2 new students are being added, you, Izuku, and 1 more from 1C. We believe he may actually be Shota Aizawa's son. Nizu chuckling, actually, Oboro, I ran the DNA tests. He's not Aizawa's child. Oboro deadpan, when did you even do that? No wait. Never mind. I really don't want to know. Izuku muttering, All for one once called Nizu a rat god. Nizu breaks into manic laughter. Izuku's sweat dropping. Right. Moving on Oboro, for the next few weeks, all of you will go through daily evaluations and training. But now, Izuku, this next part it's about them. Izuku's hands clenched, a low growl rumbling in his throat. Itsuka gently, Izuku breathe. Let him finish. The wolf boy took a shaky breath, then another. Slowly, the tension melted away. Oboro reached out and patted his head. The calming touch made Izuku blink before leaning into it instinctively. Oboro grinning, oh, the little wolf does like head pats. Izuku, I'm not even surprised anymore. Nizu softly, back to the matter at hand. We've been investigating those two Bakugo and Izumi. We've uncovered a lot, but I can't expel them over past actions alone, no matter how Ming. Until we get their real records, they'll be suspended. Officially, we'll say they're recovering from what happened at the USJ. Izuku looked down, his ears folding back slightly in a mix of guilt and rage. Izuku, you don't have to feel bad for what you said to them. I've seen what they've done to you. I've had to patch you up more times than I want to admit. They did real damage, more than anyone else ever saw. Izuku quietly, I do hate them. That hasn't changed. And yes, part of me still wants to hurt them the way they hurt me. But if I do that, if I stoop to their level, how can I ever say I'm better than them? He squeezed her hand tightly, trembling just a little. Izuku, I'm not them. They think strength is power alone, that demps is what makes someone worthy. But they're wrong. I'm not the weak, broken Deku they crushed. That boy died. He looked up, eyes gleaming like twin emerald fires. Izuku, I'm something else now. Oboro with a teasing grin, heh. Sounds like you're becoming an apex predator, huh? Izuku, I like that. Oboro half joking, wait. You're seriously calling yourself Apex now? Izuku smirking, yeah. I am. Izuku Apex, I'm Apex Shirakumo now. Class 1 Alpha. After Izuku and Oboro returned, classes at U were temporarily suspended. In their place, a full-scale operation began. Pro heroes across Japan coordinated raids against every known league of villains, safe house and front company. Most of them were empty. A few were strange. Unsettling. One location, however, stood out, Jaku General Hospital. It was there that the top 10 heroes led the assault. All Might and Endeavor broke through the front line, clashing with 3 nearly complete high-end Nomu. All Might, Detroit Smash. The first near high-end Nomu took the full brunt of the punch, then began to twitch. Near high-end 1, Impact recoil with a warped mimicry of All Might's own strength, the creature struck back with equal force. All Might skidded backward, barely staying on his feet. Endeavor, Hell Spider. In a searing flash, the high-end was shredded and reduced to a smoldering heap. The remaining 2 lunged in but were swiftly dispatched by Hawks, Mirko, and Best Jeanist. The pros moved room by room, clearing labs and examining evidence. What they uncovered chilled them to the core, detailed records of Nomu creation, with classifications for volunteers and forcibly transformed subjects. In one room, Endeavor found a file. Handwritten. The fire burns my skin, but I can't stop. It's all I have. Endeavor froze. A memory surged. His son Toya, skin raw and blistered, eyes filled with pain and longing. Hands trembling, Endeavor flipped to the ID attached. Not Toya. He exhaled, but the burn in his chest remained. After 1 week, nearly all of the League's assets had been seized or destroyed. Mountains of data were recovered, some of it too dangerous to exist. Nizu personally ordered the destruction of specific files, especially those detailing quirk duplication. A single encrypted copy was preserved under lock and key. Just in case. Finally, U reopened its doors. The students of Class 1A and 1B gathered in a spacious, newly furnished lecture room built to seat 42 students. Whispers floated as they noticed the unused chairs. Then the doors opened. Vlad King, his arm in a cast, stepped in alongside Midnight. Vlad King, before you ask, yes, I can still teach just fine with this. Recovery Girl has me scheduled for more healing later today. Now on to business. He glanced across the room. Vlad, from today forward, Class 1A and Class 1B will merge. You are now Class 1 Alpha. Murmurs rippled through the room. Midnight, and yes, those extra seats. They're not a mistake. Your class will have 42 students. The whispers grew louder. Tenya Ida, Sensei, what about Bakugo, Midoriya, and Kendo? Shouldn't they be here? Midnight, they've already been informed. Kendo is on campus in the medical wing. She's helping one of your new classmates. The original members of Class 1B shared quiet, knowing looks. Of course Kendo would volunteer to help, but who needed that kind of help? Momo Yaoyorozu, if this concerns a new student, shouldn't the class representatives be involved too? Midnight, it's not a matter of leadership. It's personal. This student is someone Kendo believed had died. He's alive, but he carries deep scars, mental and emotional. What he went through was beyond horrifying. More murmurs. Unease crept in. Jiroda Shishida, what exactly happened to him? Vlad King, he was turned into a Nomu. Silence. Then a collective gasp, followed by shouts, everyone, what? Midnight, please let us explain. Vlad pressed a button. The screen behind him flickered to life, revealing an image of a smiling green-haired boy. Vlad, this is Izuku Midoriya. Twin brother to Izumi Midoriya. He was quirkless. At age 12, his body was found in an alley. Authorities assumed it was suicide. But the truth is, he paused. The mood in the room turned suffocating. Several students looked down, others clenched their fists or wiped at their eyes. Vlad, we now know he didn't die that day. He was taken. He pressed another button. The screen changed. The beast from the USJ attack appeared, hulking, monstrous, terrifying. Vlad, this is what he became. The Nomu codenamed Omega. The room fell into a paralyzing silence. Some students flinched. A few gasped. None could look away. Vlad, the villains turned him into a living weapon. But unlike the others, he kept his mind. They broke him, controlled him with memory suppression and mind control quirks. Every action, every fight was against his will. Midnight stepped forward, voice steady but heavy with emotion. Midnight, but he's free now. The control is gone. And he's here, at UA, recovering. He's going to join this class, your class, as a student. Midnight let the silence linger, giving the room time to absorb everything. Midnight, now he doesn't go by Izuku Midoriya anymore. While you can still call him Izuku, if he's comfortable with it, his new name is Apex Shirakumo. And yes, he's now my adopted son. The students were already reeling, but Midnight continued before they could speak. Midnight, also Oboro, you can come in now. A bright flash of blue mist opened in the back of the room. Students instinctively tensed, they recognized that warp gate. Kurogyri. But instead of the smoky, disembodied villain they feared, a man stepped through, tall, calm, and very much human. His hair swirled faintly like mist, and his golden eyes glowed gently. Despite the echoes of the villain who had once threatened them, he looked kind. Setsuna Tokei's eyes widened, lips trembling. Wait, what? She stepped forward slowly, disbelief cracking her voice. Then her expression crumbled into raw emotion. Setsuna, uncle. Everyone turned to her in stunned confusion. Oboro Shirakumo smiled softly. Hey, little raptor, though I guess I can't call you that anymore. You've grown. With a strangled sob, Setsuna sprinted to him, throwing her arms around him. Tears streamed down her face as she buried her head in his chest. Eijiro Kirishima and Tetsu whispered at the same time, dazed. Kirishima, what is happening? Tetsu, no seriously, what is happening? Does anyone know why his name is Tetsu? Midnight rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. Midnight, well, Oboro here is my husband. He was declared dead after a villain attack years ago. But the League turned him into a Nomu. There were gasps. Oboro, still holding Setsuna, looked up and faced the room. His expression turned solemn. Oboro, before anyone asks, yes. I was Kurojiiri. But I couldn't control myself or what I was made to do. I had no choice at USJ and I'm sorry for everything that happened. The room stayed quiet, the weight of his words sinking in. Oboro straightened, voice firm with resolve. Oboro, but I'm free now. I'm going to be your new teacher and support Gate. And I'm reclaiming the name they gave me. They wanted me to be Kurojiiri. Then I'll be Kurojiiri on my terms. No one will ever control me again. Tsuyu Azui blinked, tilting her head. Wait, Ribbit, does that mean Apex Shirakumo is your adopted son now too, Ribbit? Oboro, yep. Setsuna, still hugging him, looked up with glassy eyes, so I have a cousin now. Midnight chuckled softly, yes. You do. Vlad King cleared his throat, the tone in the room shifting again. Vlad, now on to a more difficult topic. The students braced themselves. Vlad, after we rescued Apex Shirakumo, we asked about his life before the transformation. What we learned was horrifying. He was bullied, relentlessly beaten, humiliated, and ignored. He often had fresh injuries. The two main perpetrators were Izumi Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. The room erupted in gasps, cries of disbelief, and stunned silence. Some students couldn't process it. Mina Ashido's voice cracked, no way, that can't be true, Vlad. It is true. We've obtained their full academic and behavior records from their previous schools. They show a long history of bullying students, especially those with weak or no quirks. Kirishima whispered, horrified. Bakugo. Ibra Shiozaki clutched her hands together, lips trembling. That's unforgivable. Vlad continued, gently but firmly, the only people who treated Apex like a human being were Kendo, her family, and his BRTH mother, Inko Midoriya, formerly Inko Shimura. They were his only light in a very dark world. A deep, painful silence fell again. Even the most talkative students didn't know what to say. Vlad sighed. We discussed punishment at length. Expelling them now could have the opposite effect. We risk pushing them into villainy, or worse, the League recruiting them directly. So instead, both Bakugo and Izumi will undergo intensive psychological therapy, monitored by pros. Midnight added, but let me be clear, this is their last chance. If they don't change, we'll have no choice but to remove them and send them somewhere secure. Where they won't hurt anyone again. Shoji spoke, his voice low, and Apex still agreed to join us after all that. Midnight nodded. He's stronger than most of us will ever be. But he's not here for revenge. He's here to heal. And maybe to show the world that the worst pain doesn't have to break you forever. A few minutes later, a purple-haired boy walked into the room, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Hitoshi Shinso. Hello, my name is Hitoshi Shinso. I'm going to keep the details of my quirk to myself. Midnight smiled gently. Shinso, these people aren't like your old classmates. Hitoshi gave a small sigh, then nodded. Fine. My quirk is called brainwashing. That's all I'll say. Denki Kaminari started to chime in, but before he could get a word out, Kyoka Jiro lightly tapped him with her earphone jacks. Kyoka, ignore him. Shrugging, Hitoshi settled into his seat just as Kendo entered the room, looking happier than anyone had seen her in a long time. What caught everyone's attention even more was the young man she was holding hands with, a male version of Izumi, but with a distinct wolf mutation. The girls in the room exchanged quick, shy glances, cheeks flushing. Every girl whispering, "Oh no, he's cute." Kendo noticed the reaction but said nothing. Izuku Apex shifted nervously before speaking, Hi everyone. My name's Apex Shirakumo. Nice to meet you all." The room fell silent. Was this really the same monster who had attacked Midoriya and Bakugo? Izuku Apex continued, voice steady but tinged with vulnerability, "I know we got off on the wrong foot, and I'm sorry for that. I'm not the same person I was before I became Omega." He flinched slightly at the name. "But I'm trying to rebuild myself. I hope we can get along." Sports festival. About 2 weeks had passed since the arrival of Apex Izuku Shirakumo and Hitoshi Shinso, along with the announcement that classes 1A and 1B were officially merging. The shocking revelations about Izumi and Bakugo's past still hung in the air, leaving those close to them unsure how to feel. But despite the drama, the newly merged Class 1 Alpha had been getting along surprisingly well. Apex Izuku spent most of his time with Kendo, though he'd started to talk with more of his classmates. Everyone agreed he was kind if a little shy at times. Now, in the boys' locker room, the class was getting ready for the sports festival. Apex Izuku nervously fidgeted with his gym shirt. "Why am I here again? I just got here, I'm not ready for this." He was clearly excited, but anxiety crept into every movement. Tenya Ida adjusted his glasses, speaking in his usual calm but encouraging tone, "It will be fine, Shirakumo. If the teachers believe you're ready to compete, then you are ready. We believe in you, too." Hitoshi Shinso, already half changed, raised a brow, "Dude, you're not the only new guy here." He pulled on his shirt, then paused as he noticed something familiar in his locker. "Hitoshi, when did this get here?" he asked, holding up a capture scarf. Apex Izuku blinked. Maybe Dad snuck it in when no one was looking." Hitoshi Shinso found a note attached and read it flatly, "Nizu has approved use of this for the sports festival. Good luck, Mini Aizawa." Apex Izuku groaned, covering his face. "What did I say?" Kozai Tsuburaba crossed his arms, unimpressed. "Okay, but isn't this, like blatant favoritism?" Eijiro Kirishima shrugged with a grin, "Who knows, man. Anyway, do you think Bakugo or Midoriya are gonna Tenya cut in?" "Tenya Ida, they will not be participating." He readjusted his glasses. "Tenya Ida, I spoke with a few of the teachers. They've deemed both unfit for the festival for now. Midoriya's making progress and might return before or after midterms. Bakugo needs more time." No one looked surprised. Apex Izuku exhaled, ears twitching. "Yeah, I'm not shocked. Kaisi Bakugo's is taking so long." As they left the locker room, the girls were just stepping out of theirs. Among them, Itsuka Kendo spotted Apex Izuku and walked over with a warm smile. She reached out and gently took his hand. "Itsuka Kendo, you ready to show the world who you are?" Apex Izuku took a deep breath, steadying himself. His ears and tail flicked with nervous energy, but his emerald eyes soon lit up with determination. He looked at his classmates' Class 1 Alpha. Izuku shouts, "Let's go beyond." Everyone raised their voices together. Everyone, plus Ultra. The merged Class 1 Alpha stepped onto the massive field, greeted instantly by the thunderous roar of the stadium crowd. Present Mick's voice boomed across the arena, "Welcome everyone to the sports festival." Apex Izuku flinched slightly at the sound, his ears twitching. Apex Izuku, wide-eyed, "There are way more people here than I thought." Rikido Sato chuckled, "Well, after that whole villain attack, people want to see what we're made of." Izuku's ears drooped at the reminder. Rikido winced, "CRP. Sorry, man." Izuku shook his head, forcing a small smile, "It's fine, I have to get over it eventually." Suddenly, the attention shifted as Midnight strode onto the stage alongside someone unexpected. Oboro Shirakumo, in his civilian form, waved energetically, "Hello everyone." Apex Izuku's jaw dropped, "Wait, Mom. Dad. Mashireo Ojiro blinked. Why is Shirakumo-sensei out in public? Wouldn't the League try something? Apex Izuku deadpanned. How would the League ever attack you, while Nizu's on high alert? That's suicide. Even All for One fears Nizu when he's ticked. A cold shiver ran through the entire class at the mental image. If All for One feared Nizu, then yeah. Best not to think about it. Midnight stepped forward confidently. Alright. Time to get this show started. Oboro grinned. Okay, classes. Let's go. With a flourish of his quirk, a warp gate opened beside him, and a giant spinning wheel floated out. Oboro, let's see what the first event is, shall we? Midnight gave it a dramatic spin. After a few tense seconds, it stopped. Midnight grinned. Obstacle race. Apex Izuku raised an eyebrow. An obstacle race. Must be a way to thin the herd early. Midnight shouted, let's begin. The students moved into position at the starting line. Apex Izuku turned to Itsuka, tail swishing. Wanna run together? Or going solo? Kendo gave him a teasing smirk. Sorry, babe, but I want to show off a little. Apex Izuku laughed and leaned in, giving her a quick kiss. Alright. See you at the finish line. In a flash of green light, Apex Izuku's body shifted, massive muscles expanding, fur spreading across his form as he transformed into a towering emerald-furred wolf. Gasps echoed from the stands and among the other classes, eyes wide at the sight. He wagged his tail, crouching low, claws digging into the ground in anticipation. Then Present Mix's voice echoed across the stadium at full blast. Goo. Apex Izuku blurred from the line, vanishing in a streak of green before anyone else had moved. He sidestepped the massive ice wall Shoto Todoroki launched behind him to block the others, not even slowing down. Tenya Ida's eyes widened behind his glasses. He's faster than my brother. As Apex Izuku pushed his speed using overclock, speed booster, and kinetic hyperdrive, he weaved through the track like a living missile. A massive robot fist crashed down in front of him. Apex Izuku's mind processed it instantly. Apex Izuku's mind, so these are the entrance exam bots like Itsuka said. He opened his mouth and unleashed a powerful, echoing blast, a mix of his howl shock and radio wave quirks that scrambled the robot's sensors, giving him a clean path forward. Then he saw it. The zero-pointer bots. Apex Izuku's ears flattened with only one thing on his mind, F. Without hesitation, he dropped into his werewolf form, muscles bulging further as he tapped into several strength-enhancing quirks at once: muscle augmentation, X3, spring-like limbs, hypertrophy, kinetic hyperdrive, 4 kinetic booster merged into 1 quirk, titanic surge, 3 brawn boost merged into 1 quirk, stone shift, and iron bloom. He launched himself at the massive robot like a missile. A single punch collided with its head. The resulting shockwave kicked up a hurricane of dust and debris, smaller bots flung into the air like toys. The zero-pointer's head was gone, its giant body crashing backward in a heap. Present Mike practically screamed into the mic, what the hell was that? Aizawa in a deadpan, our nephew being overpowered. Izuku does called Aizawa and Present Mike his uncles. The stadium erupted in disbelief. Apex Izuku stood in the middle of the chaos, dust swirling around him, tail raised high and eyes glowing like wildfire. Apex Izuku shifted back into his green wolf form and bolted toward the next obstacle. Present Mike yells, here we are, the fall. He skidded to a stop at the edge of a deep pit, stone pillars jutting upward, each one linked by shaky tightropes. Apex Izuku's thoughts, okay, simple. Skip the tightropes, just pillar to pillar. Shifting back into human form, his ears twitched and tail swished as he calculated the best path. Before he could leap, Shoto sprinted past, their eyes locking for a brief second. Without a word, Todoroki made a bridge of ice straight across the gap. Apex Izuku blinking, okay, that happened. With spring-like limbs powering his legs, Apex Izuku launched himself from one pillar to the next. Each landing kicked up small clouds of dust before he sprang off again, occasionally using wall crawler to cling to the sides for a better angle. Mid-run, he caught sight of Tsuyu slowly making her way across the ropes. Apex Izuku deadpan, what? He hopped over, landing beside her. Apex Izuku, Tsuyu, what are you doing? Tsuyu tilting head, climbing the tightropes, Karo. Apex Izuku, your quirk is frog. Why not jump between pillars like me? Tsuyu, I never thought of that. Apex Izuku smirking, well, now's the time to try. He took off again, only to spot Hitoshi swinging overhead with his capture scarf plus 2 extra capture bandages strapped to his arms. Apex Izuku muttering, okay, that's actually cool. A few bounds later, Apex Izuku reached the far side, just behind the fastest competitors, and entered the minefield. Ahead, Shoto was already weaving through with a handful of others. Shifting back into wolf form, Apex Izuku sniffed the air and pricked his ears, easily pinpointing every mine. Apex Izuku's thoughts, alright, now I just his thought cut off as something landed on his back. Glancing over his shoulder, he found Itsuka grinning at him. Wolf Izuku giving the best, really, look a wolf can, Itsuka, what? You can smell out the mines and you're fluffy. 2 birds, 1 cuddle. He huffed, a low growl slipping out, but there was an amused glint in his eyes. Together, they navigated the field at a steady pace. Itsuka, babe, you can take first. You're way faster than this. Wolf Apex Izuku deep, rough voice, don't want first. Every year, the leader becomes the main target in round 2. I'll take second, let Todoroki deal with the heat. Itsuka head tilt, why Todoroki? Apex Izuku, because he's obviously taking first. Sure enough, moments later Todoroki crossed the finish. Apex Izuku hopped in for second, with Itsuka taking third. Returning to human form, Izuku dusted himself off. Apex Izuku, now we wait. Itsuka still on his back, yep. Apex Izuku, wait, why are you still there? Itsuka kissing his cheek, because you're ridiculously comfy. And your fur. Softer than my bed. Izuku's fur is very soft. Everyone finally crossed the finish line. Midnight and Oboro stepped forward, ready to announce the next stage. Midnight, and the next event is. The giant will spun, clicking rapidly before stopping. Midnight, a cavalry battle. Apex Izuku flatly, knew it. Itsuka, team up. Apex Izuku, team up. Around them, students immediately broke into chatter, forming groups, calculating points, and eyeing Apex Izuku for his versatile quirks. Midnight yelling into her mic, "Hey! I'm not done yet." She sighed and continued. Midnight, alright, here's how it works. You've got points based on your placement in the race. Last place is 5 points, then it goes up in increments of, and first place, she grinned wickedly, gets 10 million points. Gasps erupted through the crowd. Everyone turned to stare at Todoroki like predators scenting prey. He, of course, looked unfazed by the sudden target painted on his back. Apex Izuku and Itsuka shared a look. They already had a plan. Apex Izuku, we should have about 405 points between us. Itsuka, good. I think we should grab Shiozaki and Shinso. Apex Izuku, exactly. Shiozaki's vines can hold attackers back, and Shinso's quirk is a wild card, no one knows its trigger. Together, we're untouchable. Itsuka, true. But watch out if Monoma copies Shinso's quirk. Apex Izuku, if he does, I'll erase it. Itsuka blinking, wait, you have Aizawa-sensei's quirk. Apex Izuku, he's my uncle. He and Uncle Mike both told me to copy theirs. Itsuka, then why haven't you? Never mind. I answered my own question in my head. Apex Izuku smirking, exactly. Let's grab our teammates. Elsewhere, Izumi Midoriya sat alone in a stark white room. Her right hand was gone, cut off by Omega by Izuku. Staring at the stump, she remembered the doctor's words, her quirk had been weakened. She used to channel it through her hands, but without her DMN1, her control was broken. She'd need to retrain from scratch with her left. The room itself reminded her of a mental ward, comfortable enough, but she knew the truth. Quirk-canceling tech was hidden everywhere, ready to suppress her if needed. The same was true for Katsuki. Just the thought of him made her scowl. He'd dragged her into bullying Izuku, though her father wasn't much better. He'd always called Izuku a mistake. At least the police had finally locked him away. Izumi muttering, "I should be in jail for what I did not hear. I heard Izuku. And now the boy I called brother is gone. I hope Katsuki never gets out. This place is worse than prison for him." A knock came before the nurse entered. "Nurse, hello, Izumi. How are you today?" Izumi sighing, "Still think I should be behind bars." Nurse softly, "You were manipulated, pushed into it. You've shown real effort to change. That's why you're here, not a cell. Now good news. You've been allowed to watch the sports festival." Izumi shocked, "What? Why? I thought anything related was banned until a month before my release." Nurse nods, "Normally, yes. But we believe seeing your brother's progress will help. You regret what you did, and this might ease that burden. You'll see that he's thriving with friends, with a new family, even a girlfriend. No information has reached you since you learned he survived, so this is a chance. If you're going to rejoin the hero course, you need closure." Izumi fell quiet, then gave a slow nod. Izumi, "All right. But will he be there?" Nurse, "No. Bakugo will stay in his room, for obvious reasons." Izumi sighing, "Good. He'd just explode knowing worthless Deku is in while the future #1 rots in here. Honestly, this place is more of a prison for him than anyone else." The nurse nodded, motioning for her to get up. Izumi followed. "Nurse, one more thing, we've prepared a prosthetic hand. It'll look and feel natural, but you won't be able to channel your quirk through it, not yet." Izumi calmly, "That's fine." Mini time skip, Izumi sat quietly beside a woman with pure white hair and gentle gray eyes. Rei. Todoroki. Rei had already been watching the sports festival before Izumi was brought in, and now they watched together. Rei glanced at the girl beside her. She knew why Izumi was here. She could see the scars, the self-hatred, the guilt, the pain. But she also saw flickers of something else. Little by little, that darkness in Izumi's eyes was giving way to hope, though the wounds hadn't fully healed. Now the second event began. For the first time, Izumi laid eyes on her brother again. He looked like her, yet different: shorter hair, wolf ears, tail, fur, claws. Rei quietly pointed out her own son, Shoto, and Izumi remembered meeting him before. He had only stared at her back then, distant and cold. But her gaze quickly returned to Izuku. He was smiling. A real, genuine smile. One she hadn't seen since before they were told he was quirkless. He stood with 3 others, a boy with messy purple hair and a capture scarf like Aizawa-sensei, a girl with long vines for hair, and of course, Itsuka Kendo standing close to him. Izuku shifted into a massive green wolf as the others handed their points to Itsuka, who climbed onto his back. The cavalry battle erupted, but almost every team charged straight for Todoroki's group, desperate for the 10 million points. Izuku's team, by contrast, stayed on the move. Izuku sprinted across the arena with Itsuka riding, while the vine-haired girl lashed out with her quirk, snatching headbands and blocking anyone who dared close in. The purple-haired boy barely moved, only tapping his foot now and then. Each time he did, Izuku dodged or leapt away at the perfect moment, avoiding attacks. Izumi whispering, "That's a plan." He built a strategy around all their quirks and without their quirks. "You haven't changed, Izuku." The event ended with the standings announced: Team 1, Shoto Todoroki, Momo Yaoyorozu, Tenya Ida, and Denki Kaminari. Team 2, Apex Shirakumo, Itsuka Kendo, Hitoshi Shinso, and Ibara Shiozaki. Team 3, Tetsu, Eijiro Kirishima, Hanta Siro, and Mina Ashido. Team 4, Mei Hatsum, Fumikage Tokoyami, Ochiko Uraraka, and Yuga Aoyama. Izumi's eyes lingered on the name. Izumi, so that's his new name. Rei tilting her head, what do you mean? Izumi, I didn't know what name my brother was using now. And I don't think I deserve to. I made his life hell. He was turned into one of those Nomu things. If I'd just been his sister, maybe he wouldn't have suffered like that. Rei gently set a hand on her shoulder. Rei, Izumi, you have to stop blaming yourself. She hesitated, then added softly, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I overheard the doctors. They said your brother might allowed to come here, someday. They think it could help you. Izumi's head dropped. Izumi, why would he come here? I'm the reason he. Rei wrapped her in a firm hug, cutting her off. Rei, Izumi, listen to me. When I overheard them, I also heard this. Your brother wants to see you. He asked for it. He wants to talk to you. Rei pulled back just enough to meet the girl's eyes. Rei, he wants to see you, Izumi. Your brother still wants to see you. Tears welled up in Izumi's eyes. Slowly, they spilled over as she buried her face in Rei's shoulder, shaking. Rei held her close, whispering gentle words of comfort. Meanwhile, back at UA, time for one-on-one battles, tournament bracket, round 1, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Ochiko Uraraka round 2, Tetsu vs Eijiro Kirishima. No joke, I put this through a randomizer and I got Tetsu vs Eijiro Kirishima, round 3, Hanta Siro vs Denki Kaminari round 4, Mei Hatsum vs Hitoshi Shinso round 5, Mina Ashido vs Ibara Shiozaki round 6, Momo Yaoyorozu vs Yuga Aoyama round 7, Apex Shirakumo vs Shoto Todoroki round 8, Tenya Ida vs Itsuka Kendo. Before round 1, Shoto told Apex Izuku about his past. Round 1, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Ochiko Uraraka. Fumikage steadied himself, knowing Ochiko could complicate things, but with Dark Shadow, he only needed to overwhelm her. Ochiko, on the other hand, had a plan. Dark Shadow was weaker in light, but maybe she could turn his strength against him. Midnight, Oboro, and Cementos took their places while Present Mike and Eraserhead settled into the announcer's booth. Present Mike, alright everyone. Here we go. Round 1, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Ochiko Uraraka. Fumikage walked out, feathers shifting in the breeze, his quirk rippling under his skin, restless to be unleashed. Ochiko stepped forward, nerves evident in the way her brown hair bounced with each breath, but her eyes stayed sharp. Oboro, victory comes by knockout, immobilization, or forcing your opponent out of bounds. Ready. Midnight, 3, 2, 1. Go. Fumikage, Dark Shadow come forth. Dark Shadow exploded outward, slamming its claws into the arena floor, hurling chunks of rubble into the air. Each strike raised a cloud of dust. Ochiko darted between the hits, fingertips brushing each piece of rubble until dozens of stones floated high above. Her breathing quickened, her quirk was pushing her limits. Then impact. Dark Shadow clipped her side, sending her sprawling near the edge. Fumikage calmly, surrender. This ends here. Ochiko coughed, laughing weakly through the pain. Ochiko, no, I've already won. She pressed her fingertips together. Ochiko, meteor shower. Release. The sky rained rubble. Fumikage, Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow, on it. The quirk wrapped him in a protective cocoon. Dust filled the arena. When it cleared, Fumikage stood unharmed, Dark Shadow retracting into his body. Fumikage, a brilliant attack but useless against the dark. Ochiko pushed herself up and rushed forward, but Dark Shadow snatched her mid-sprint and tossed her out of bounds. Midnight, Fumikage Tokoyami is the winner. Fumikage offered her a hand. Fumikage, you fought well. Ochako smiled faintly and accepted. Winner, Fumikage Tokoyami Round 2, Tetsu vs Eijiro Kirishima exactly like canon. Neither back down. Result, draw. Round 3, Hanta Siro vs Denki Kaminari. Denki blasted the field with a surge of electricity, striking Hanta before he could react. Hanta collapsed instantly, knocked out cold. Winner, Denki Kaminari. Round 4, Mei Hatsum vs Hitoshi Shinso. The same as canon, Mei turning the match into an advertisement for her gadgets, leaving a baffled Hitoshi standing in victory. Winner, Hitoshi Shinso. Round 5, Mina Ashido vs Ibra Shiozaki. A short battle. Mina charged, but Ibra's vines wrapped her up and gently dropped her out of bounds. Winner, Ibra Shiozaki. Round 6, Momo Yayorozu vs Yuga Aoyama. Yuga struck first with his naval laser, but Momo swiftly conjured a mirror. The beam ricocheted back, blasting Yuga clear into the 1 Alpha stands. Winner, Momo Yayorozu. Round 7, Apex Shirakumo vs Shoto Todoroki. In his room, Apex Izuku paced restlessly, green fur bristling. His tail flicked side to side, ears twitching as he prepared. Apex Izuku thinking, I have to force him to use his fire. I won't let him limit himself. No one helped me when I needed it. But I'll help you, Todoroki. No matter what. The crowd roared as both competitors stepped into the arena. Todoroki walked forward, expression unreadable, cold mist rolling off his right side. Apex Izuku emerged opposite him, green fur stirring in the wind, tail flicking sharply. His hair hung over his eyes, but his gaze was locked on Todoroki. Present Mike, now this is a match, folks. The Wolf vs the Ice Prince. Apex Shirakumo vs Shoto Todoroki. Apex Izuku's aura crackled. He cycled up 3 quirks at once: Black Lightning, Dark Ball, and Impactor. Across from him, Todoroki's right side steamed, ice spreading across the arena floor. Midnight, go! Shoto opened with a massive wave of ice, roaring across the stage. Apex Izuku raised his arm, then unleashed a storm of black lightning, the bolt supercharged by Impactor. The current tore through the glacier, melting and shattering it apart. He followed by forming a dark ball, charging it with black lightning and boosting it again with Impactor before hurling it. Mid-flight, the sphere split into several smaller orbs, raining toward Todoroki. Shoto countered with another wave of ice, but each wall shattered as the orbs detonated in crackling bursts. Apex Izuku vanished in a blur, spring-like limbs launching him forward. With pump-up stacked on Impactor, his strike hammered into Todoroki, driving him through 3 dark ball that detonated in a chain reaction. Shoto slammed into the ground from the impact. Apex Izuku, get up, Todoroki. I'm not done. Are you really going to cling to just your ice? Use your fire. Shoto, never. I will never. Apex Izuku blurred again, his fist slamming into Shoto's jaw, amplified by muscle augmentation. Apex Izuku, stop holding back. Use your DMN power. Apex Izuku, you don't get it, Shoto. I wasn't born like you. You were handed a quirk with no drawback. Me. I was told every day that I was quirkless. Useless. A worthless Deku. And still I fought. I clawed my way here. And now here you stand with power you refuse to use. He blurred again, then unleashed a boom. A massive explosion engulfed the arena, the blast heat so intense it melted and evaporated Shoto's ice. Shoto barely dodged, his right arm scorched by the blast. Shoto shaken, that was Bakugo's quirk. Out of the smoke, Izuku stepped forward, eyes glowing. Apex Izuku growling, no. It's not his anymore, it's mine. He used it to hurt people. I'll use it to protect them. If I can take the power of my bully and turn it into something good, then you can stop letting your father's shadow control you. This power, it's yours, not his. Shoto's eyes widened. Steam rose from his left side. Heat bled into the air. For the first time in years, fire flickered across his hand. His mind flashed to his mother's words. Flames burst alive from his left half, fire raging as ice and heat poured out together. Shoto smiled genuine, free. Shoto quietly, "It's been so long since I felt this warmth." He looked at Apex Izuku, shaking his head with a small laugh. "Shoto, you're insane helping your enemy." Apex Izuku smirking, "No. I'm helping my classmate." Shoto powered both halves of his quirk to their limits, ice crystallizing, fire roaring. Apex Izuku grinned, his voice a low mutter as he stacked his arsenal. Apex Izuku, spring-like limbs. Hypertrophy. Rivet. Radio waves. Dark ball. Air cannon. Impactor. Kinetic hyperdrive. Repulsion. Black lightning. Explosion. His right arm swelled grotesquely under hypertrophy, multiple quirks merging into a violent glow. Apex Izuku, nuclear strike. Midnight, Cementos. Cementos, already on it. 5 massive walls rose between them, but both boys fired at once. Shoto unleashed fire and ice in a devastating wave. Apex Izuku hurled his supercharged strike. The attacks tore through every wall, colliding in the center. A shockwave ripped the arena apart, dust and flame swallowing everything. When it cleared, Apex Izuku was half buried in a wall, pulling himself out with ragged breaths. Across from him, Shoto was unconscious, pinned in broken stone. Midnight, the winner is Apex Shirakumo. The stadium erupted in cheers. Apex Izuku stood shakily, wounds knitting themselves together, skin stitching over slowly. Apex Izuku hoarse, how his legs gave out. Oboro appeared just in time, catching him before he hit the ground. Oboro muttering, "Geez, kid, you went way overboard." With a warp gate, he vanished them both to Recovery Girl's office. Winner, Apex Shirakumo. Round 8, Tenya Ida vs Itsuka Kendo. Ida tried to take Itsuka out with a single strike, but she was ready. After weeks of training with Apex Izuku, she was accustomed to facing incredible speed. With a precise counter, she sent Ida flying out of the arena. Tiebreaker, Cannon. The match was decided by an arm wrestle, and Eijiro Kirishima won by going all out and proving to be the manliest. Winner, Eijiro Kirishima. Quarterfinal rounds, Round 1, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Eijiro Kirishima. Round 2, Denki Kaminari vs Hitoshi Shinso. Round 3, Ibara Shiozaki vs Momo Yaoyorozu. Round 4, Apex Shirakumo vs Itsuka Kendo. Round 1 quarterfinal, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Eijiro Kirishima. Fumikage stepped onto the stage, dark shadow coiling and ready to strike. Eijiro entered, determined to win, though unsure how to overcome a long-range opponent. The two took their battle stances. Midnight, go. Fumikage, Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow lunged at Eijiro, aiming for his gut, but Eijiro's hardened abdomen absorbed the blow. Swinging his hardened arms, he struck Dark Shadow's head, forcing the living shadow to recoil back toward Fumikage. Eijiro braced himself, but Fumikage's strategy was evolving. He commanded Dark Shadow to envelop his upper body like armor, compensating for his vulnerability in close range. Expanding the clawed hands, he could strike, defend, and propel himself at high speed. Eijiro, I'm screwed, aren't I? Fumikage, yes, you are. Dark Shadow's claws launched at Eijiro. He crossed his hardened arms to tank the hit, then charged forward, swinging, but Dark Shadow's armor absorbed everything. Fumikage countered, punching Eijiro out of the arena. Midnight, winner, Fumikage Tokoyami. Fumikage nodded respectfully to Eijiro for his efforts. Winner, Fumikage Tokoyami. Round 2 quarterfinal, Denki Kaminari vs Hitoshi Shinso. Nothing dramatic. Hitoshi got Denki talking, and told him to walk out of the arena. Winner, Hitoshi Shinso. Round 3 quarterfinal, Ibara Shiozaki vs Momo Yaoyorozu. Momo entered, crafting a sword to slice through Ibara's anticipated vines. Ibra silently prayed for a fair match. Midnight, go. Momo charged. Ibra sent vines from the ground, grabbing the sword arm, but Momo quickly produced a pair of glasses, creating a blinding flashbang. In the confusion, she conjured a smaller sword, cut through the vines, and used the opening to push Ibra out. Midnight, Momo Yaoyorozu wins. Winner, Momo Yaoyorozu Round 4 Quarterfinal, Apex Shirakumo vs Itsuka Kendo. Apex Izuku stepped onto the field, ready to face his girlfriend. Itsuka readied herself, still amazed that the boy she thought was lost was alive and now her boyfriend. Itsuka smiling, hey, babe. Apex Izuku, yeah. Itsuka, let's do this without quirks, a normal, skill-based fight. Apex nodded and smiled. Apex Izuku, sure, though I can't turn off my steel bone and wolf quirks, so those are still active. Itsuka, whatever. Let's just fight with our skills. Apex Izuku, sure thing, babe. Forms claws, let's do this. Midnight watched, smiling at her son and future daughter-in-law preparing for a pure, quirkless fight aside from the ones Apex couldn't turn off. Midnight, I accept that. This fight will have no quirks, minus the ones Apex can't deactivate. Some spectators were confused, but most ignored it, captivated by the fight about to unfold. Apex Izuku and Itsuka faced each other in the center of the arena. The air was thick with anticipation, no quirks, no shortcuts, only skill, reflexes, and raw determination. Midnight, go. Apex Izuku lunged first, claws extended. Itsuka anticipated the strike and sidestepped, pivoting to counter with a quick palm strike. Apex Izuku blocked it instinctively, the sound of impact echoing through the arena. They circled, testing each other, each movement calculated. Apex Izuku feinted a high strike, then dove low for a leg sweep. Itsuka leapt, twisting in midair, and landed behind him, aiming a backhand. Apex Izuku rolled with the blow, springing forward to grab her wrist. Itsuka twisted free, elbowing him sharply in the ribs. Apex Izuku staggered but recovered instantly, his wolf instincts guiding his reflexes. He spun low, attempting another sweep, and this time connected with Itsuka's ankle. She stumbled but regained balance, spinning and delivering a fierce knee strike. Apex Izuku blocked, gritting his teeth, both now visibly fatigued but unyielding. They paused for a moment, breathing heavily, eyes locked, two warriors pushing their limits. Apex Izuku charged, faster now, a flurry of strikes aimed to overwhelm. Itsuka parried expertly, but Apex Izuku adjusted mid-motion, using her own defense against her. A quick push to the side, a feint, and he swept her off balance. Itsuka recovered, but Apex Izuku didn't relent. He grabbed her arm during her counterstrike, twisted, and launched her into the air with a practiced throw. She hit the ground hard, rolled, and sprang up, but Apex Izuku anticipated the motion. With a final, perfectly timed sweep and a swift push, he sent Itsuka sliding out of the arena. Midnight, the winner, Apex Shirakumo. Apex Izuku extended a hand to Itsuka, helping her up. Both were panting, bruised, but smiling, a fight tested in pure skill, and a victory hard-earned. Itsuka then kissed him on the lips for the win. Winner, Apex Shirakumo. Semifinal, Round 1, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Hitoshi Shinso. Round 2, Momo Yaoyorozu vs Apex Shirakumo. Semifinal, Round 1, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Hitoshi Shinso. The fighters stepped into the arena, the crowd hushed with anticipation. Black feathers drifted around Fumikage as dark shadow loomed behind him, while Hitoshi stood calm, purple hair shifting in the breeze. Midnight, go. Dark shadow lashed out instantly, its clawed hand tearing through the air. Hitoshi twisted aside, narrowly avoiding the strike, and snapped his capture scarf around Dark Shadow's head in an attempt to restrain it. For a moment, the shadow thrashed violently, muffled by the binding. Shinso surged forward to close the gap, but Fumikage countered, his fist slamming into Hitoshi's chest and forcing him back. Hitoshi tried again and again to bait Fumikage into speaking, straining to activate his quirk, but the bird-headed boy remained resolutely silent. With a roar, Dark Shadow tore free of the bindings and swept Hitoshi off his feet, hurling him toward the arena's edge. Hitoshi scrambled to recover but couldn't stop his momentum as he tumbled out of bounds. Midnight, winner. Fumikage Tokoyami. Semi-final round 2, Momo Yaoyorozu vs. Apex Shirakumo. Apex Izuku strode out, his green fur bristling as the wind swept through the arena. Across from him, Momo walked with calm focus, her ponytail flowing as she readied herself. Midnight, go. Momo acted instantly, creating a pair of flashbangs and hurling them to blind her opponent. The blasts went off with a sharp crack of light, but Apex Izuku's glowing wolf-like eyes didn't falter, adapted to the flare. He slammed a clawed hand forward, releasing a compressed air cannon blast that tore across the arena like a shockwave. Momo quickly formed a large shield to block, digging her heels into the ground, but the sheer force shattered her defense and launched her backward. The crowd gasped as she skidded across the stage and was blown clear out of bounds. Midnight, winner. Apex Shirakumo. Final round, Apex Shirakumo vs. Fumikage Tokoyami. It was time. The final match. The last clash to decide who would stand as number one of the Sports Festival. High above, All Might in his true form looked down at the field. His eyes followed the grandson of his late MSTR, stepping forward with unshakable determination. A quiet smile touched his face. All Might's thoughts, Nana, you'd be proud of him. He's fought brilliantly, just like you. The question is, will he accept my offer? A warmth settled in his chest as Apex Izuku's confident grin caught the light. All Might's thoughts, no, somehow I already know the answer. He will. In the stands, Class 1 Alpha erupted with cheers for their two representatives. Excitement buzzed through the crowd, debates flying. Some swore Apex Izuku's overwhelming strength would secure victory. Others placed faith in Tokoyami's tactical mastery and Dark Shadow's relentless force. Among them, Itsuka clenched her fists with quiet certainty. Itsuka's thoughts, Izuku has this. He knows Dark Shadow's weakness. And he's stronger than anyone realizes. Far away, deep in shadow, another pair of eyes watched. All for One scowled as the broadcast revealed two familiar Nomu. All for One, those two, they're the ones who betrayed me to you, and the heroes. His fist tightened, fury shaking through him only to twist into a cruel grin. All for One, no matter. I'll strp away their quirks, crush them all and slaughter everyone you love. But in that moment, a dark pressure rippled outward. As though Apex Izuku himself had sensed the threat, as if his soul promised All for One a slow, merciless end. Elsewhere, Nizu sipped his tea calmly, his sharp gaze fixed on Apex. Nizu quietly, I've found my successor. That declaration seemed to crawl across the entire stadium. Staff, heroes, villains, even the Hero Commission and even All for One all felt an icy shiver run down their spines. Apex Izuku's wolf ears flicked. He froze mid-step, narrowing his eyes as if hearing a whisper only meant for him. Fumikage frowned, unease prickling through him. Fumikage uneased, why do I feel like something just shifted? Apex Izuku exhaled sharply, you're not the only one. Feels like some rat god just claimed me as his heir. The two spoke in unison, Nizu. A beat of awkward silence. Apex Izuku scratched the back of his head, okay, yeah, let's just fight before this gets any weirder. Mom. Midnight blinked before snapping back into her role. Midnight, alright. Go. Fumikage, Dark Shadow. Attack. Apex Izuku springs aside with spring-like limbs, dodging the strike. In his palm, a sphere of light ignites. He hurls it forward, blasting Dark Shadow back. Dark Shadow reeling, Fumi. What do we do? He's using light. Fumikage grim, then we strike harder. Dark Shadow armor up. Dark Shadow coils around him, forming the same battle armor he once used against Ijiro. Fumikage, this is our ultimate move. Black Abyss. Dark Shadow's massive arms launch forward, surging at Apex Izuku. Apex Izuku braces, enhancing with spring-like limbs for power, repulsion for reach, and igniting it all into one devastating strike with explosion. Apex Izuku, Mega Blast. A colossal explosion rips across the arena. Fumikage dodges barely, but most of Dark Shadow collapses back into him, weakened and writhing. Fumikage alarmed, Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow in agony, the light it burns. Apex Izuku resolute, darkness can't exist without light and I am that light. His body erupts in brilliance, radiance pouring from every pore. The crowd gasps. This was no ordinary glow. Fumikage staggered, wide-eyed, and no, it can't be. Apex Izuku, the first quirk ever recorded. The spark that awakened humanity. Luminescence. Light condenses along his arms, fusing with his bone blade quirk, shaping into radiant weapons. Apex Izuku roaring, light blades. He rockets forward, strikes flashing mercilessly, driving Fumikage back. With a final motion, he retracts the blades and launches an uppercut, sending Fumikage flying out of the ring. Midnight shouting, winner and your champion Apex Shirakumo. Apex Izuku's thoughts, I did it, now I'll show them all that victory is mine. He moved his fist high into the air, a gesture of triumph, an echo of the hero he honored most. The crowd erupted in thunderous cheers, the stadium trembling with their roar. From the stands, All Might's smile widened with pride. All Might, you did it, you showed them that you are here. And with that, the Sports Festival drew to a close. Thus, another chapter ended. Next part, Hero Names and Family Reunion. Author notes, alright, this one definitely took some time, sorry about that. I hit some writer's block and wasn't sure where to take things for a while. But I finally got through it, and yeah, I decided to finish the whole chapter in one go. It ended up being longer than I expected, but the next part should be shorter. And about the luminescence quirk, why not use it, right? I thought it added something unique. Also, sorry if some of the battles felt a little bare on dialogue, I didn't think every fight really needed it. Plus, I'll admit I got a bit lazy with a few of them. Still, I think overall it turned out pretty solid. Now then, see you on the flip side.